Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekend Rental, episode 95. We are your gaming and geek culture podcast. As always, my name is Ryan, and I'm joined by Andy.
Hey.
And Biff.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, he's here. All right, so if you like our content, you can find a bunch of other great geeky-related content over at geekade.com. TV, comics, video games, and more. It's all available over there. What's your geek? geekade.com. We're going to get into this episode and I guess just ramble. We don't have a bunch of stuff. I'm going to start it off because I talk a lot. Monster Hunter the movie. That was a thing that somebody made. It was directed by Paul Anderson. Mila Jovovich, is that her name? Was also in this movie, just like the Resident Evil movies.
Mila Kunis.
Oh, yes. This movie would have been better had Mila been in it. This came out on DVD and demand. It was released 2020. I'm a Monster Hunter fan. I'm a Resident Evil fan. I'm sort of a Resident Evil movie franchise fan. I hate to admit it.
Is anybody?
They're more.
You're about the
they're
only.
They're more bad. Right. They're more bad than good. What this was a Resident Evil movie with a sprinkling of Monster Hunter put in there. I will say they did some deep cuts. They paid homage to the weapons, the lore, the palicos, which I greatly appreciate, and then it was just Resident Evil movie.
Just like an ensemble of characters type thing.
Yeah, like I went into this thinking this is going to suck, right? And I came out of it thinking that kind of sucked, but also was so much better than I had anticipated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It touched on enough notes as a fan of the franchise that I was like, this is all right, but it still sucked in the way that the Resident Evil movie sucked, that I was like, yeah, they could have done way better, right? And they left it on a cliffhanger, obviously teasing another movie. Who will give them money to make that? Probably nobody, but I don't know.
For somebody that has never played Monster Hunter, I've been asked to jump into the game. I've heard it's a grind, and I think we've talked about it on the podcast as well. But for someone who has no Monster Hunter history, could I watch the movie and understand what's going on? Would I be like, that's not a bad movie? Or is it one of those weird situations you got to play the video game first?
No, 100% you could jump in. This would be like, yeah, it's a dumb like action movie. And it'd be fine. You know what I mean?
Is there any part of the movie that actually has the part of like the tracking and trying to track down a monster? Or is it just pretty much fighting the monster?
They touch on it and they go into like setting the traps and whatnot. But yeah, it's not super in depth, but they do touch on like the weapons and like the bone weapons and the bone blade. And yeah, I mean, it's all right. Right. You know what I mean? It's not super detailed, but cause like they kind of blur the line between like, we're paying homage to this franchise and this is a dumb action movie. It's kind of where it lands, you know?
Was this was this a movie theater adventure for you, or was this demand, or what was it?
No, yeah, this is on.
I don't know how this thing is.
This was on demand. I paid like $20 because I was gonna like on demand rent it. And they're like $19.99, buy it. That was the only option. So I was like, well, okay, I guess I'm paying $20 to buy it digitally.
About the only one.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably like 5 people. I don't know.
The producers.
I mean,
so on.
It sounds like it's more like representational of the games than any of the Resident Evil movies were. So that's a plus, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, like 2 was obviously very good with Resident Evil, but still a mess. So who knows?
Speaking of that, they're rebooting that, right? There's a new Resident Evil movie the end of this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Who's directing?
I think somebody actually good, so it might have a chance. I don't know.
Sorry, Paul Anderson.
Yeah.
And your wife.
Yeah. That's pretty much
Well,
all
that'll
of
be
that.
interesting.
That whole thing is just getting his wife to, get paid, right? Like,
Yeah.
they've got some sort of scam going on over there where they can just write each other checks or something. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
I have such a hard time getting into video game movies. The last one I saw was Sonic. I think everybody saw that. But before then, I can't remember the last video game movie. Maybe Mario? Maybe. And I don't know. It just, I don't know. Maybe this is what like book readers feel like when they're like, oh man, this movie just ruined the book, the imagination of that. And maybe that's just with video games too, where they can't capture exactly what you envision or that magic. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much impossible to translate it perfectly, right? Just like books, there's so many details in books that you can't put into a movie. Whereas it's kind of the opposite on that, where there's a lot more details that would be boring in a movie that's in a game, but they're still part of the game. I don't know.
Or vice versa, where they're like, we have to expand a little bit more about this story or expand a little bit more about that character, which the video game had nothing on. So,
yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. So, keeping with that, I've been watching a lot of media since we recorded last. Not playing a bunch of games, but I watched because I bought Paramount Plus. They launched it, rebranded CBS All Access.
Getting your money's worth.
Half off. It was half off the first year, so $30 for a full year. How could I not?
So watch it all in
there,
like the first 15 days that you have it.
Yeah. So on there they had the console wars. Seth Rogen bought the rights, involved. It's a documentary. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's the battle between Sega and Nintendo, weirdly spinning it in a way that Sega is the victor and the good guy. Strange. And also completely negating the fact, because they touch on Sony coming in, right? They don't talk at all about the Sony and Nintendo relationship, the PlayStation prototype. They don't talk about the Philips relationship and that going into the CDI, and it just moves on. And I'm like, this is crucial historical information that you guys have like glossed over. Aside from that, it was pretty good. There were some good interviews on both sides, but yeah, it was just bizarre to me how like you'll incorporate Sony but not touch on why they rose to power or how, and then how is Sega the good guy now? I mean, not that there was a good or bad guy in either situation, but it was just like Nintendo were fucking arrogant pricks. They suck, And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I guess this is okay from like a casual person's perspective, but there were gaps, big gaps.
I think the book definitely was like they had the most access to a lot of the Sega marketing guys and stuff like that, right? And that's pretty much probably where that spin came from. And most of the book is like in, 92, 93, right? So,
right.
I mean, technically those years, maybe Sega was on top, but if you're not going to acknowledge what happened after that, it's like, well, what's the point? The console wars didn't end at that point.
I mean, Sega's still in the console market, right?
Yeah, they just came out with those Game Gear Minis, so.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, I mean, I get that they were based off of like a book, but there's better references at this point. Like maybe don't do that.
Yeah.
There's probably more solid YouTube videos that are 10 to 12 minutes long that sum it up a whole lot better, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's interesting to know like the whole Sega structure then, because Sega of America was huge and Sega of Japan was also huge, but they didn't really get along either. Where over on the Nintendo side, it was just like the masters over in Japan, right? It was like yes sir,
Yeah.
So in that respect, it's kind of interesting.
It was Tom Howard, right? Like the mastermind behind Sega of America. Is that his name? I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, like Sega of America definitely had like the right approach and we're going to crush it. Had Sega of Japan not just
also
tried
done
to
their
fuck
own thing.
them.
Yeah.
Right. They're like, no, fuck America. They're doing good. Let's crush them because they're humiliating us. And it's Japan. We have pride. Yeah. And that was Sega's ultimate downfall, really.
Yep.
And so this is bad. Like, we can merge it, but like I've watched so much documentary in the last week. It's the console wars. Then I've also been watching on Crackle Playing with Power, which is like the rise of Nintendo on, it's like a 5-part series. So I don't know which, thing I saw it in, but they were talking about how like Sega's rise and all of that, and Nintendo of America or Sega of America wanted to go with the Silicon Graphics, the company that Nintendo ultimately partnered with to make the Nintendo 64, to get Donkey Kong Country and like Rare and all of that going. And originally that was Sega of America. Sega of America had the first dibs, sent it over to Japan. Japan was like, nah, we're good. We got this other thing going on. And yeah, just the arrogance and like how they took themselves out. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, and then the two consoles, one side was working on a console, the other side working on a different one. And yeah, it's a big mess. Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad.
The thing that sucks is that it finally killed them is like, well, the Dreamcast was a great product. It was just like, no, PlayStation was just a better product.
Well, yeah, that's like on that Playing with Power, like they touch more on that and like how the demand for PlayStation and Sony and then, or not Sony, but like Sega and Nintendo overlooking, the enemy clearly in the room, and this big power was just, they didn't get it. You know what I mean? Like they didn't get it. And like, I think we can all remember, maybe, I don't know, Nate, you kind of stayed a generation behind, but I think anyone who told me I'm buying a Dreamcast, like I'm going to play Soul Calibur, I'm going to play, and you'd look at them, even though we didn't have the consoles, you'd be like, yeah, but the PlayStation 2, it's going to be better. You know what I mean? Like, it was just the automatic response. It's like, even though we all appreciated what was on the Dreamcast, your immediate like word vomit was like, yeah, PlayStation 2 better.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Because I mean, when you first saw Soul Calibur, you were like, holy shit. Oh my
God, yes.
That is unbelievable what that looks like. And then you could still have the balls to be like, oh, PS2 is better.
To play that. Yeah, of course. It was beautiful. Absolutely. I mean, to this day, when you see it on the hardware,
yeah,
beautiful. It holds the test of time, and it's one of the few Dreamcast games that does that. You know what I mean? And yeah, we were so brainwashed at the time. It's like PlayStation 2. It's good. Why would I waste my money on a Dreamcast?
Yeah.
But part of that too, when we're talking about these documentaries, is how much Sega really squandered their fan base. Between the CD add-on, the 32X, the Saturn not being supported, at least in the US, because people forget the Saturn was a massive success overseas. In Japan, it was huge. But here it was like DOA by the time PlayStation really took hold.
Yeah, they weren't even sending their first party stuff over here for a while, for the longest time.
I mean, I can remember those commercials where it was like, buy a Saturn, get Virtua Cop, like Virtua Fighter and Daytona, free, $120. And you're like, nah, fuck it. I'm still not going to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's pretty nuts that they, the Dreamcast came out as good as it did, and then that was the nail in the coffin anyway. But
yeah, and just all the circles that I was in with video games. I mean, that just never was a conversation piece. Nobody was standing in the circle like, oh, yeah, my Dreamcast. Let me tell. I didn't really know many people that had a Dreamcast, maybe a couple. And even then, they weren't peeing their pants over it. They would still be talking about everything else. So to me, that Dreamcast was just kind of an obscure system that it never really hit the circles. Everybody was talking about Nintendo, PlayStation, all of those things, and that's where it's at. You were a weirdo if you had a Dreamcast.
Yeah, and the sad part is like, and I will always attest to it, is like the Dreamcast was the last console where if you had an idea for a game, it could happen. Like it was the last like gasp of let's try it. You know what I mean? Like you hadn't settled into annual releases. You hadn't set into sequels. It was like, let's put it out there. I think this is a great idea. And for the most part, that died with the Dreamcast and that died within Sega.
Or they became indie games, basically, for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bummer.
Yeah. I guess, thinking back, the one person that I knew that had a Dreamcast also had a CD burner. So it was like, maybe that was...
Well, that might have helped too, nail in the coffin.
Yeah. Thinking back, I was still pretty young when the PS2 came out, where I remember it just being constantly unavailable, right? Like everybody was like trying to track down the PS2. And I mean, we're still in the throes of the PS5, always being out of stock everywhere, people tracking them down. And I'm trying to remember if the PS2 was longer. I thought that was almost like a whole year where they were out of stock, but I'm not sure.
I mean, that might have been right for the first little bit. I want to say I got one like a year in, and it wasn't that hard at that point. But
okay.
Yeah, I feel like both the PS2 and the Xbox for 6 months were a little tough.
The Wii definitely went through that a little bit too, but
the Wii was horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I worked next to a GameStop, and I would go in every day and ask the manager if I could have a Wii. It's like, no, we didn't get any. It's like, stop coming in here. I'm like, I'm going to come back every day until you either come over to where I work and tell me you have a Wii for me, or I come in and you say you've got them in stock. And then eventually he came over one day, and I happened to be working like out of town on a business trip, but my wife, not even my wife at the time, went over and picked it up for me. So,
wow.
Yeah. And that was like months of doing that. I just annoyed the shit out of that guy until he gave me one.
And what was your first impression of the Wii? I think, was it something that you were blown away, or were you like, this is fun for 30 minutes and I'm done?
No, blown away. Loved it. Mm-hmm. Loved the first 6 months to a year that Wii Sports, excellent. Excite Truck, fucking awesome. WarioWare, smooth moves, hilarious. Yeah, it was really good. Sonic and the Secret of the Rings or Secret Rings were $60 ever spent. I traded it right into GameStop for like 10th of the value, and it was a good deal. That was a bad game. That was a bad game that GameSpot said was like an 8 out of 10. It's full of shit.
Wow,
it's terrible. Yeah, no, I loved it. The first 6 months to a year of that console were great. And
the virtual console, yeah.
Right. So that's what people forget is like Nintendo with the Wii and the virtual console almost fueled the current retro market or the subsequent retro market, because you had TurboGrafx, Genesis, like NES, Super NES, 64. Like, I mean, let's just appreciate the TurboGrafx and the deep cut that was for them to have in the virtual console. Like, the Wii fueled everything that was going to come in the next 10 years as far as collecting and focus. And yeah, you can't ignore that. You can say whatever else you want about the console. And yeah, I dropped off after the first couple of years too, but that virtual console, holy shit. And the fact that they haven't been able to replicate that in subsequent systems, like how have they not capitalized on their biggest asset? Bullshit.
Yeah, that was definitely the most exciting thing that I wanted a Wii for, was the virtual console. And that was a point where I wasn't like actively out getting retro games and being like, oh, I need to collect all these. It was just like, that was the spark. Like you said, that was the spark, like, oh, I can have these old games again, on a modern console. And I think it did. Like you said, I think it sparked all of that, because shortly after, that's when the graph started rising.
Yeah, 100%. It also set the precedent of, I'm going to sell you a 20-year-old ROM for $5.
Yeah.
It will never get cheaper than that, because we're Nintendo.
Yep. And then 5 years from now, I'm going to sell you that same thing again for $7.
And then 15 years from now, Frank Cifaldi is going to point out how we just pulled this ROM off of the internet and sold it back to you. Oh, gosh. Love the Nintendo business model. Evergreen prices. If only every business worked like that. 20-day-old moldy bread. Nah, it's still $1.99. Fuck you.
Yeah. I mean, like, their Super Bowl ad was literally Mario Kart. You know what I mean? Like, and that's it's Mario Kart 8. It was a Wii U game,
Yeah. 100%. So speaking of the retro craze, we've got a topic near and dear to this podcast's heart, because we're all David Crane fans.
I would say super fan, more than just a fan. We talk about him a lot. Balls. Super fan,
right? News broke that Audacity Games is being formed, focusing on retro game development. More importantly, the 2600, and the founders and developers for Audacity Games are going to be David Crane and none other than Chris and Dan Kitchen.
Gary.
Yep. Chris and Gary Kitchen, yep. Yes.
Gary Kitchen.
Not Dan. Gary Kitchen's Amazing Battle Tank, whatever.
That's all I think of when I hear Gary's name. First name basis, obviously. Call him just Gary. You guys can call him whatever you want, but...
And Dan and David have partnered up on, Boy and His Blob. I mean, this is a pretty historic pairing. Also very awesome to see somebody like outright say, nope, we're going to focus on 2600. You know what I mean?
So
like,
random.
Yeah.
It's a ballsy statement. They want to package it with original box art. They've said that they will have digital codes for those who just want to put them on the shelf, but play the games. I'm excited. It's very historic and cool.
I mean, it's cool because like they're sticking to their wheelhouse, right? Like once they got beyond that, it, kind of fell apart. So stick to what you know. I mean, you never know. You might make the next Pitfall.
Well, absolutely. And like the thing is like homebrews come out, right? For all sorts of systems, but seldom do games come out for those systems where it's like the original developers of the killer games, So
I'm not super pumped about the focus being on the 2600.
Well, they said focus on retro consoles. 2600 is the emphasis for now.
Right.
That could go to SNES and NES.
I mean, that would be great, but 2600 is not going to help me. I don't even have one of those things.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's like some weird things going on in some of those homebrew cards, right? Like they're putting a lot of the computer processing power in the card itself.
Oh yeah,
to
for
make
sure.
the 2600 do things that it's not supposed to, right?
Yeah, and even on the NES, I've got like Micro Mages, which is a fantastic game, also available on Steam, but it would not run without the additional like RAM and whatever they've added into it. So there's a little bit of fudging for sure.
Yeah. So I mean that's cool if they stick to, the concept of a 2600, but still be able to not, have a little bit more than bleeps and bloops.
It'd be hilarious if they just put something that looks like on the Super Nintendo and throw it on an Atari. Just a one joystick button situation. But that would be funny.
It'd probably be a few thousand like color palettes short of
right.
We have 4 shades of brown, but it looks like a Super Nintendo.
It looks so good. That card
you could see all the pixel edges, but they're all the same color.
This is amazing. Yeah. I don't know. It's funny too, because like as we're talking about this, I'm thinking back to that playing with power thing on Crackle. So that documentary, when they're talking about like the rise of Nintendo, it's hilarious because they're interviewing Tommy Tallarico. It's like, and he's talking about like Nintendo and the GameCube or like the Wii U and stuff. He's like, well, the thing is like they don't realize that you can't just launch a console without a killer app and an idea. And I'm like, hey Tommy, how's it in Television Amica working out for you, buddy? Like, eat your own words here. It was just hilarious. Yeah. I cracked up.
I feel like you're just throwing random subscription companies out there that I never hear anybody talk about. You're like, yeah, I got that Crackle subscription.
Well, Crackle's free, man.
Well, I don't know any of these things.
Sony sponsored it for a while and then they since backed out, but Crackle's still free. You can watch Playing with Power for free.
I feel like, when
Chris
you're on
Kohler said a lot of good stuff in there
and you're scrolling through everything, you're like, what is this? What kind of app is this? And nobody uses that. Why do I have all these choices? You're that guy.
Well, Crackle, Tubi, Pluto. I can go on.
FilmRise. It's a whole bunch of them. Yep.
Free.
Love it.
Free.
So,
nope.
I think, yeah. Well, you know where I'm going to go with this.
I don't.
I think I need to get you guys to come on over to my house and help me move my arcade cabinet that I have built in the wrong spot. It is becoming, I don't know. Did I talk about this cabinet? Yeah.
2 episodes back?
Yeah. So progress is very far. I went back. I started February 1st. And so we are March 10th today, and I have just a little bit of sanding left to do, which is a pain in the basement. It's not something that you can just pick up, walk out to the garage. If you do pick it up, you're ridiculously strong.
For anyone listening, the rough frame of Nate's cabinet that he's sanding is the size of like, I don't know, a commuter van, probably. So, yeah,
it's so to put it in perspective, it is
100%.
It is 5 feet wide, right? Yeah, 5 feet wide.
Sure, and you tell us. I don't know.
I'm trying to remember the exactly
20 feet long.
So it's
a kid lives in it.
It's 5 feet wide, and the tallest point in the back is 6.5 feet tall. It has a 50-inch monitor or TV in there. I was like, oh, this won't be that heavy, but I'm kind of an idiot where I don't pay attention to how much wood I'm putting on this thing. And
you framed it 100% out of 2x4 lumber, man.
Yeah. if there is a tornado, we are all sitting in that arcade cabinet. We are going to be okay. You guys have safe rooms. I have a safe arcade. And we had to put the outside shell on and get the shape of it. And so I'm walking around Menards and looking for plywood. What do I want to put on the sides? And I was like, oh, a 1/2 inch isn't bad. My wife's like, that looks pretty weak. And I'm like, well, it's not going to be structural. She talked me into 3/4 inch. And so I have thrown 3/4 inch sides on this thing. It is a brick house. I bet you that thing is a few 100 pounds at this point. And yeah, I need to move it to where it's going to permanently be for the next 6 months, probably, till I change my mind. But tomorrow's an exciting day. The wrap is coming, so it's getting a car wrap, and I finally chose some colors. I wasted so much time on this, just figuring out because it's so big. You don't want it to stand out and be this ugly whatever, and you're sick and tired of it. So I went with a blue outside, silver middle and interior, and I have someone working on some cushions right now. I'm excited to play this thing. It's we're really close, boys. Game night is going to be happening very, very soon after we push it and move it to where it needs to be. Me and my son were talking about, he's like, so what kind of games are on this? And I think people who are non-gamers, and like even my son being that age, they assume I'm building this one thing for one game. And so they're like, what game is going to be on this? Well, a ton of them. And that just blows their mind that you can have more than one game on a cabinet. And so my son was like, well, I don't know if I were building this, I would probably do things a little differently than you did. And then he's giving me all these suggestions. One of them was putting a hot dog roller in there that you get at a gas station. He's like, so you just lift the seat, move the subwoofer, and you have hot dogs right there. And I was like, that's
pretty sure there's an episode of Pimp My Ride with that.
Right. So as I'm sitting next to Andy and Ryan, I just want to smell hot dogs coming between our legs in that little tiny cab.
If I'm there, that's all you're going to smell anyway.
Right. So. Without a hot dog roller. So, yeah, he had all these just ridiculous
that's what
ideas.
I grease my beard with is hot dog juice. So beard oils, no hot dog water for me, please.
You just walk into like a holiday gas station, walk up to the rollers,
yep.
Just put your beard on
Run it through, ready for the day. Yeah, you got it.
Looking at those blistered dogs that have been there for hours and days. Disgusting. So I'm excited though to get this cab done. Maybe this is just how I operate in projects, that after a certain amount of time, you're like, all right, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And this thing is immensely custom. So it's just, you measure something, you go and cut it, you come back and you're like, I got to trim this. And it's a lot of going back and forth, and I just want to get to the end. So there was a couple of days that I'm like, I'm going to rip this thing down, and I've wasted my time. And if something doesn't go right, the first time. So definitely excited.
You try those cup holder light yet?
Yes. Gonna
work or no?
Yes. So I have 2 cup holders in there, as you should in an arcade. And I wanted LED lights that shine up, and they work pretty well. I gotta get them off of the vibration mode, where that's the only time they're activated. So I want them on all the time, and I just haven't had an opportunity to really mess with them. I just wanted to make sure they fit first, and they were bright enough. So I still got cosmetic stuff. After the wrap, I am putting some LED lights that sync to music. I haven't ordered those. And then, yeah, I think that's about it. So almost there.
Things are going to be crazy.
Yep, it exceeded crazy, about 15 days ago. So
I just want the check back in like 6 months where you're like, yeah, I played it like twice.
yeah, I know. I
The
think
hot dogs are still rolling on there.
But
I love your excitement over it, but like the reality is like this will almost probably never get touched, right?
right.
After the initial craze.
Yeah, I walked down the other day and my daughter was curled up on the bench and they're watching TV in the arcade and not, on a couch. So I'm scared it's going to be used as just a Hulu station.
Yeah.
With some fancy joysticks.
I mean, if you can play pretty much anything in there, though, that definitely expands the life of it.
I told him to put an Xbox Series S in there. And then when we met last week and he was like, I'm confused. Isn't that the old thing? I'm like, no, dude, that's the new thing.
The name
but it
is
doesn't read
bugging
discs. I was like, it's perfect for your cabinet because you'll never touch it. So you just have it wired in. You can do your Game Pass. You can get your next gen. But yeah, I agree. The series convention of
Just
naming is...
Give me some names.
It's bad.
It's bad.
Because I mean, of course I Googled that. I was like, which one is he talking about? And it kept on coming up with the old one, the
Xbox One S.
Yeah, One S.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm so confused. Why do I want that when I have an Xbox? And yeah. So there will be probably an Xbox in there. There's a PlayStation 4 in there right now. I got to wall mount that. And I think that's about it. And then obviously Raspberry Pi, and then the network that is connected to my PC. So yeah, we're good to go.
We got the network, everybody.
We got the network.
Nailed it.
Yep. So it's all hooked up to Steam and ready to party.
Yeah.
You ever seen that one guy that like has taken out all the cartridge slots of all the consoles and like custom modded, like it looks like one of those SD card readers that has like 32 different things to put in. It's just like all the different cartridges like all on one wall that you just put the cartridge in and it all works. It's nuts.
Nice.
Huh.
Like it.
No, don't tell me that, because then I'm going to be like, I need that. I need to make that. I'm going to make it 600 pounds.
That seems like it would be hard. You'd probably have to do a lot of wiring.
Not interested.
To make that work.
Well, I mean, since we're talking about arcades, you guys, the news broke today because we're recording on March 10th? Is that right?
That's right.
March 10th. 2021.
Mario Day.
I don't know.
What? I thought it was Martin Day.
Same thing.
Oh,
like
Martin.
Yeah, Mart. I've been watching Big Mama's House all day. Damn it.
Anyway, Nintendo retro arcade news, whatever. They announced Nickelodeon's partnering with, I don't know, new TMNT Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, Shredder's Revenge. It looks to be an arcade beat 'em up, 4-player, 16-bit stylings. Obviously using more horsepower than that. Think, Scott Pilgrim sort of thing. Looks surprisingly good. Coming out soon, I imagine. I didn't look, but yeah, ties back into the old original cartoon franchise, and might be worth a damn. I don't know.
So is this an actual cab? Is this what you're saying?
No. It's a virtual download game. Yeah. Switch. I don't know about other consoles, but
do you think it'll hit Steam?
Yeah, probably.
Maybe.
Gotta throw it in my arcade.
Probably PS4 or Xbox Series S, at least.
Gonna need that too. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm surprised they just didn't call it Turtles 5 because that's looks like it.
Yeah. The character animations are like I guess the character models looks a little bit more squished than before.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't go off of the new Nickelodeon guys.
No.
Good. I hate that.
No, they're paying homage to the original cartoon series. So who knows what it will be or if it'll be any good, but the potential's there. I don't know if have either of you guys played the Nickelodeon like 3D Turtles in arcade version? It's like 4-player.
No.
Okay, it's at like a lot of places like Dave and Buster's and whatnot. Like that's pretty good too. It kind of feels like a 3D version of like the old school games. So even if they get like kind of close to that, I think this will be a win.
Yeah, it'll be good. It's made by the same guys that made Mercenary Kings, so you know quality is going to be there.
I have not played that. Is
Yeah,
that
you
good?
have. Yeah, you have.
Mercenary Kings?
Yeah, that's the Metal Slug ripoff we played.
Oh, I didn't like that. I'm afraid now.
Yeah.
Everyone kept telling me I should like it because I like Metal Slug, and I was like, no, I don't like this.
Oh, it's good, man. Like
Is
that
it?
game. Yep.
Okay.
Easy to convince, just like that.
I mean, this was even easier to convince. They threw a Foot Clan guy at the screen, and you're like, yep, I'm buying that. 'Cause it's like-
There's that. Yeah.
That's all they had to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Anybody been playing anything? Like, we haven't talked about that yet, but like, since last episode,
Yeah, I do have to update
Anything?
everyone since our last episode about the Fortnite debacle. I don't know if you guys
where
remember
you
that.
tormented a child in revenge of a phone call you received from another parent.
Yeah, that phone call
Okay.
continued. Got
Oh.
got a return call.
Okay.
And they're like, "Hey, it's just not working out between our boys playing. Your son isn't doing enough sharing, and so we're letting our son know that he has to delete your son on
What the
Fortnite."
fuck?
And I was like, "Hey, that sounds great. Sounds good."
Did you say, I appreciate that? I'm sorry your son's a bad gamer. I understand. My son's pro. F you. Best of luck.
Wow, that's
That's messed up.
that's how Biff should have approached it. But just really went with, sorry you feel that way. And that was it. So
Really?
yeah. So
Was this text or was this audio?
this was via text message. So
Okay.
yeah, because nobody makes phone calls these days,
Mhm.
It's
especially
true.
with confrontation. So
How does Biff Jr. feel about
Biff
this?
Jr. feels great
Yeah.
because he's like
'Cause he can
pansy.
keep on winning without that dead weight.
Yeah, he's like pansy. Yeah, he doesn't give a rip. So he's off
Nice.
to destroy the next person and steal their treasures, or not share his treasures.
Well, I feel sorry for the next like 10 online friends that this other kid makes that his parents are going to have to call for because they have to apologize for how much their son sucks at gaming.
I thought this was just going to be like a one-time awkward moment. And I was like, I think we're done and past that. Nope.
now
They just
Yeah,
keep
how do
on
you go
going
back?
for
Wow.
it.
help me understand because like you've talked about like the neighboring friend relationship. Is this like backyard neighbor, next door neighbor? What's the proximity here?
Not close enough. So
Okay. Good.
no,
Less awkward.
Nope, we're good.
Yeah.
Even then, that doesn't bug me. So
I mean, it probably should, but
I just look at my neighbors and everything, but you guys suck. My kid's so much
Yeah.
better than yours. So
I mean, I guess you have no shame after pulling up to your house and you were doing like the weird like
no, I have
two-handed wave
zero.
thing at like 9 a.m. on a Sunday. I'm like, people see this.
Yeah,
but
I have zero
just
shame.
went for
Very
it.
confident in my
Like it.
self and my body. So
good for you, man. I appreciate
yeah,
that. Zelda, 35th anniversary.
hey, can we preface this
We're-
to say, did you actually finish Adventures of Link so that we can close this?
Okay, I'm gonna just shut this down. I didn't want to talk about it. I want us to love the game for what it is. I will complete it at some point. We will revisit it. I don't want to join on the
trash.
hate train because I
Garbage.
still like part of.
Garbage.
We're gonna talk about Zelda and its 35th anniversary, and I got a quiz
Go.
for you guys. Okay, 10 questions. Not all of these will work because one or two of them is visual.
Okay. Do we have to
Not including
buzz in?
No.
Okay, no buzzing.
We don't have buzzers.
Well, I don't know.
Question 1, if you're a true Zelda fan, not including re-releases or remakes, how many mainline Nintendo Legend of Zelda games feature Link in the title? The options are 3, 4, 5, or 6.
3.
That Andy?
You would think about it.
Link has to be in the title.
I 4.
All right. I'll pick one of those answers. We'll find out. So 3 or 4. Oh, Andy gets it. The answer is 4. The Zelda games featuring Link in the title are Zelda 2: Adventure of Link.
Yep.
The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. And then The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. So 4. Andy gets a point there. Question 2.
That's a dumb
Philips
one.
CDI.
Hate that one.
Yeah, it's a bad one for Biff. The Philips CDI hosted 3 poorly received, I mean, that's up for debate, non-Nintendo Zelda games. Which of the following was not a Philips CDI title? Your choices are Link, the Faces of Evil, Zelda, the Wand of Gamelon, Link's Adventure, or Zelda's Adventure.
Oh, man. I've never played a CDI.
Well, right, like 99% of us.
I'm going to say Zelda's Adventure.
No, it's Link's Adventure.
Shut up.
Because I think the Zelda Adventure is actually pretty good.
Yeah, Zelda's Adventure is the third one. So Link's Adventure is the correct one that was not on a CDI.
That's like a real Zelda, like a actual Zelda style game, isn't it?
It's a top-down Zelda style game. If Chris from the Stone Age Gamer podcast, who owns all 3 of these abominations, is any testament, it's just hot trash. But
so who's up right now? Am I up?
No, you are down.
Trivia's for losers.
It's 2-1. So 3 of 10 here. Which Zelda game celebrated its 20th anniversary? So this came out in hold on, let me see the posting date of this. 2020, so last year. Which Zelda game celebrated its 20th anniversary at the end of April 2020? Is it The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask, or The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker?
Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
All right, you both got one.
Oh,
so 1 to 3.
After I answer, it doesn't work.
I will.
That doesn't even count for him.
Okay, this is a visual one. I'll try to make it happen. Ocarina of Time features 7 sages.
Oh.
What is the name of this strapping fellow? I'm going to show it on the screen. Hopefully, you guys can see.
Oh crap!
That's what he looks like. The options are Raru, Gerudo, Goro, or Darunia.
Goro.
And Andy?
Darunia?
Find out. Darunia is correct. So 4 to 3 or 1. I'm sorry, 4 to 1. That is correct.
Don't be sorry.
It's a tough question for an audio podcast because people listening are like, what? I don't know.
He showed me a half naked muscular man.
He's the Goron dude.
What is the main part of the Goron's diet? And this should be easy. Rocks, rubies, rats, rubber plants.
Rocks.
I remember all those Zelda games with those hot rubber plants. Andy?
Yeah, it's definitely rocks.
Yeah. So 5 to 1. Question 6. Chronologically, according to the in-game universe, which game is the first in this series?
Oh, no.
Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, or The Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword?
I think we have to follow up with the question, what timeline do you want to go with?
The official timeline per the Hyrule Historia, the published book that you sold at a swap meet 3 years ago, Nate.
How do you
I bet
remember
wish you
this
had
stuff?
that now? Because you priced it at $15 and I kicked myself for not buying it.
You should have bought
'cause
it.
I wanted it. I should have.
I think I have another one.
I'll buy it.
Okay, I'll look for it.
I think I have a sealed one. Never even opened it.
Oh, well, this is a great conversation then. I'm going to get a Hyrule Astoria.
Two of them. All right, say it again. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm special.
Chronologically, according to the in-game universe, which game is the first in the series? Your options are The Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, or The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, or lastly, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword.
I'm going to say Ocarina of Time.
I think it's Skyward Sword.
I think you're right, but I'm not sure. We're going to find out together. It is Skyward Sword, yes. That is predating those other games. Good job. 6-1.
This is a stupid
Gosh.
game. This is stupid.
Who's a real gamer here?
This
I think
is
it's Andy.
This is stupid.
Question 7. Navi accompanied Link on his adventure in Ocarina of Time. But what's the name of his fairy companion in Majora's Mask? Is it Tittle, Tattle, Tail, or Trip?
Tittle.
Trip?
It's Tattle. You both
Oh,
lost.
Dang it.
Sorry. 6-1.
This is
All right.
stupid.
Love this question's making me smile already. Which of the following Zelda games has the lovable Tingle not appeared in? Lovable being questionable there. Majora's Mask, The Minish Cap, Oracle of Ages, Twilight Princess. Tingle is the weird green suit wearing man with the underpants on the outside.
I got that after I said that.
For anyone who may not know.
Oh no, I mixed him with Tittle.
Majora's Mask, The Minish Cap, Oracle of Ages, Twilight Princess.
I'm waiting till Andy answers.
I think it's Oracle of Ages. I don't know.
I think that's roughly where I was going to.
So ditto is what you're saying?
Yeah, 100%. If you get this wrong, Andy, I'm going to punch you.
You guys were both wrong. It is.
Screw
It is in fact the Twilight Princess. So we're at
Really? Wow.
what do we say? 6-1 right now.
I think you intentionally got it wrong so that I would follow suit.
I figured Oracle of Ages came out before Majora's, but
This game's making me angry.
It's a tough one though. It's like, well, Oracle, that's Capcom too, right? Like, so the odds of it not being in there are pretty good. That's a fair guess. Statistically though, Biff, like you have no hope of catching up. We're already on question 9.
That's not true because this last question's actually
there's
worth
no like
more.
bonus.
Okay.
This is this is all or nothing.
I will do a bonus. I will do a type. That's a good. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw an audible.
I'm
in
on
there.
my way back.
So question 9 out of 10. What is the name of Link's talking boat in the Wind Waker? I like this.
This is also stupid.
You haven't played it, have you?
No.
Okay. The King of Blue Fins, the King of Golden Sunsets, the King of Red Lions, or the King of White Waves?
King of White Waves.
The Red Lions.
Andy? Yeah, of course it is. Correct, sir. So you're at 7. Biff's still at 1.
All right, winner takes all. This one here.
Ooh, I don't
How do you
know this
spell
one.
Zelda? Z.
No, this isn't winner take all. This is the actual questions in this quiz. I do not know the answer to this. I don't think. What is the antagonist Ganondorf's last name? Ega Hinnom, Dragmire, Grimamore, or Mandrag? That's also Biff's.
He said Mandrake.
last name, Mandrag. Catch him on RuPaul's latest season.
Grimoire.
Oh, it's Grimoire. I pronounce it.
Yeah, that's the one I'm going to go with. That one feels right.
Sounds good.
What was the third one?
So it was Egaheim, Dragmire, Grimoire, or Mandrag.
It's definitely the second one for you, Andy.
I'll go the first one this time.
Yeah, okay. Let's see. It was in fact Dragmire. which nobody got.
Wow.
So,
Yeah,
technically speaking,
I won.
I mean, I don't know that math adds up, Biff.
Yeah, but Andy's in front of a computer and he's typing things. I see his hands moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's Googling, definitely.
Yep.
I heard a bunch of clicking.
Yeah, and there's
If there was one to Google, that was the one. I am the king of the Zelda, and I'm here to say that Zelda 2 is a bad game.
I concur. It's awful. It's equal to Garfield.
No, do not bring Garfield and his abomination.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
Oof.
I watched an episode of Garfield and Friends yesterday.
Memories.
All right, so bonus points. We're not going down this Garfield road.
Okay.
I'm cutting it off.
Winner takes all. This one.
So winner takes all. What game is in my Game Boy Advance Micro right now?
Oh, Game Boy
Keeping
Advance.
with the theme.
Oh. I'm typing right now.
Minish Cap.
Ding, 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 ding. Andy wins on top of his already winning.
I didn't even
Minish Cap.
answer.
Yes, that's correct.
That's the one I was going to say.
The Legend of Zelda Minish Cap, because when I got my Game Boy Advance Micro, which only plays Game Boy Advance games, not other Game Boy games,
I don't know any
thought,
of those
what is
games.
the most logical game to play in a Micro? The Minish Cap.
Oh,
It
yeah.
only made sense. I put it in. I invested a couple hours into it, and I was like, this is an okay Zelda game, but it does not have the charm of most Zelda games. And I fell off, got sick of looking at the 1.5 inch screen, and I just have not played it since. But it's still on the shelf. Still has Minish Cap. I will go back to it someday, but Biff is a double loser.
Have either of you beat the Link's Awakening remake?
No.
Okay.
I have not.
Yeah. I put some time into it and I just fell off of it.
I have
It's
not. I have
Yeah.
not conquered many Zelda games.
They
I
go
got
longer than they should.
Right. I got 3/4 into Link's Awakening and I was like, this is fine. But I was enjoying playing through it with my kids, and my kids lost interest in us going through it together. And I was like, what's the point at this point? So I just kind of fell off.
Yeah, I did 1, 2, Link to the Past, and Breath of the Wild. That's all I got.
The good ones.
You need to play the Wind Waker.
Yeah, Wind Waker is definite.
Horribly, you need to play that one. Get it for your Wii U. It's like $20.
It's the cartoony. I have it. I have Wind Waker. I have the
on the Wii U.
Yeah, I have the remaster or
The
whatever
HD?
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, put it in. I know you don't have a tablet because it got smashed, but you don't need it. It'll still work. Just get a Pro controller.
He almost
you
had it
have
for
one of those,
GameCube
I
too.
have a
but
Pro controller.
Yeah, no, he didn't almost have it for GameCube because, as we all remember, I had those fucking quick hands at Goodwill. Biff was nowhere near getting that.
I will cut you.
Yeah, $4 for Wind Waker. All day, every day.
I don't want to bring that moment up because you got physically violent
you
with me.
owned.
I was going to file a domestic on you.
Yeah. And then I got the handheld fishing game. Plus, I got a bunch of
Nobody's
vinyl for 25
excited
cents.
about your
So
stupid
I dunked
fishing
on all
game.
of you. Fuck you. It was good. That fishing game is great. It's under my seat right now.
Yeah, when's the last time you played it?
Never.
Yeah, but
in
you
the
got
store
it.
when we bought it. That's not the point.
Did you even play that Zelda game? I would have played it by now. You never played it.
I mean, I would have, but I already beat it, so I didn't need to.
Yeah. Whatever. I have nothing for you. I got a bigger arcade than you.
I mean, I'd hope so. I could live it. You know what? In
put
Portland,
wheels on that
they
thing and
sell
go.
that as a home.
It's a mobile home.
You put a composting toilet in there and a hand pump sink. You're fucking
Isn't
set.
that like I think that's a popular YouTube series, 24 hours challenge in something. I could do 24-hour challenge in my arcade cabinet.
That's good.
That'd be great. Does
just-
anybody want to join me? I won't
I'll
wear
do it.
pants.
Nope.
Okay.
All right. Well, I just want to do something a little bit different too, because it was nice getting back into the quiz thing. Like we're all a big fan of that.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted your guys' opinion. We don't have to go too in depth, but as you know, we're part of the Geekade podcast network.
Is that one of your streaming services?
Not yet. So one of the newer podcasts on there, the Dude, A Lord and the Truth. They talk kind of it's Byron Byrne reminiscent, right? Of like what is a better game, and their most recent episode, I'm not going to say I take issue with, but I take issue with. They talk about what is the better game, Super Mario World or the original Donkey Kong Country. I can answer this in about 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, done.
I'm curious on your guys' thoughts.
Well, easy.
I thought you were going to say Super Mario Brothers 3 because that's usually the debate, but
sure, that's more comparable.
Super Mario World against Donkey Kong Country, which one's more superior?
100%. Yeah,
Super Mario World, 100%, without debate or question. It's superior.
Yeah, I mean, imagine taking Donkey Kong Country and then putting it in 1991 graphics like Mario World was. You take all that pre-rendered stuff out of there. I don't think it's as good a game. Like that's the draw to that thing, right? The way it looks, and I don't know.
Yeah, and that was my initial reaction too. And
they didn't go the other way, did they?
No, they went Donkey Kong Country because so the way their podcast is set up is like it's sort of like Defend It of the Completionists used to do a few years ago, where it's like one person defends one game, one person talks about the other game. The truth decides, right? And I've been giving them crap on the Vest Twitter channel when he's streaming, or not Twitter, Twitch. Gosh, Twitter, Twitch.
It's whatever. All the same.
But I am 100% with you guys. To me, this is no question because Donkey Kong Country it was a visual powerhouse. It without a doubt, that game and the subsequent follow-ups, well, maybe not 3, extended the perceivable consumers' like interest in Super Nintendo to bridge that weird gap where Nintendo could not come out with a 64. But even if you look at Super Mario World and admit, which it is true, was underwhelming in the graphics department, that Overworld was kind of fugly. It's got iconic tunes. It's got top-notch controls. It has secrets to explore. It has replayability. It's got, I don't know, like I cannot stop listing the ways
no mining carts.
No mining carts. Yes. It's got some dumbass purple dolphins, but even those aren't that bad, right?
Right.
Yeah.
There's way more ideas in the world too. Like they spread the ideas out a lot more, where like Donkey Kong is like, okay, back to the minecart,
Right. And like one of their arguments, and if you guys are listening from the Dude, Lord and the Truth, let's have a civil discussion about this. But one of the things that they mentioned in their podcast was, the fact that you just plowed through in Donkey Kong Country. Every level was in order. You had to follow the path. I feel like that's a detriment. I feel like some of the genius in Super Mario World was the fact that you didn't have to follow a path. I liked the fact that once you knew, you could go to like stage 5, get the cut over, go to World 8, beat Bowser inside of 15 minutes. Like that felt great. Felt super good as a kid.
Yeah. And like the switches too were a cool thing,
in the Star World, like once you started getting into that and like really understanding how that worked.
Yeah. I will say the Kong letters, the collectibles in Donkey Kong probably have a one-up on Mario. Like if you had to spell Mario or something during Super Mario World, that'd be kind of fun. But
yeah. Well, and there is, I will give a nod to Country where at least both of you were on screen at a time. And if somebody died throughout a level, it was like a seamless transition. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, there was still some beauty in Super Mario World for not doing that, because there was that weird like kind of pause when you died in in Donkey Kong Country, and like the next person would come in, like it almost jolted you off your game. So if it was in a precarious spot, like you were just doomed, right?
They still do that even in the new ones. It's weird, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we all unanimously agreed. But
Donkey Kong Country is a good game too, but
excellent. They're both fantastic games. What I would say is we just need to have those guys on the podcast and do like a maybe we do the next version, right? Like we do Yoshi's Island versus DK2.
Love it.
That would be a more interesting discussion for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm throwing the challenge. The gauntlet's down. The dude, the Lord, the truth. If you're listening, no, but you're probably not. But if you are, and you've made it to the end of this podcast, let's have that debate at some point in the future. And also, you're wrong. Whoa. Clearly, Super Mario World is a superior game.
You know, there's only one Baby Kong, and then they knock that shit off. But Mario, it's still like, there's like baby Dr. Mario at this point, right? Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous.
Yes. Well, final thoughts, closing things we didn't touch on? What do you guys got?
You've been playing The Messenger?
Oh, okay, yeah. So I did, yes. What happened was I've been really into Valheim, as so has the rest of the world, and I was like, wow, this is a good one of those. And I'm playing on a server that is run by somebody else, and they had put in a mod, which I wasn't aware of. So I could no longer log into the server that I was part of, which sounds frustrating, but in Valheim is amazing because they let you just carry your loot and your character stats and all your gear over, which no other game does. It's like open world like that, which is fantastic. Anyway, after running into that frustration, I was like, well, I got a few minutes. Let me see what I got to play. And I was like, looking through my services, went over to Xbox Game Pass on PC, and I was like, River City Girls. That's included right now. I'm going to play that. So I started downloading that, and it's taking forever. And I was like, well, I already have the Messenger installed. So let me play that in the meantime. And then like 3.5 hours later, I was like, the Messenger is great. Here's why the Messenger is great. At least where I'm at. I've been warned. Nate warned me ahead of time. The Messenger has tight controls. The difficulty, at least at the point where I'm at, is not insurmountable. It does not hold your hand. It teaches you the gameplay elements the way that a game should, like Mega Man X, where you fall in a pit, then you're like, oh, I can wall jump to get out. Like, ingenious design. The humor is absurd. Like, I love that whole like first shopkeeper thing where you're like, hey, welcome to my shop. Hey, this doesn't look like a shop. Okay, do I look like a shopkeeper? And it's just like question, or like ... Like, dude, this is great. I mean, admittedly, I don't read all of it because there's a lot of dialogue, which would probably add to the value. But yeah, man, like, talk about a game where the developers completely understood the referential material they were lifting from, and the era and how to design a game like that to where it just keeps you engaged and wanting to play. Like, so dialed, like Nintendo level of dialed on all the like minute things that make you want to keep going with a game like that. Like, wow, like so good.
I still go back to like one of my favorite things about that game. It is difficult. You know, some of the platforming, actually all the platforming is difficult, and it progressively gets more difficult. And
sure,
I love the fact that if you die, you have no one to blame. You don't have the game to blame. It's you. And
I mean, that little floaty guy blames you all the time.
Right. Yeah. Get good. That game. And it's one of those, you know, like Ninja Gaiden, where that game is frustrating. And it's one that the more I keep on dying, it's like, I'm done with it. You know, I'm not progressing in a way. The messenger took that and said, yeah, it's difficult and you have to platform pretty well. But it's one that you just find yourself continue. I want to get better. And so I really appreciate that about that game.
And the music in that game is amazing.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I got to the point where the boss that turns you into a mushroom and beat my head against the wall against that, could not figure out the right pattern to stop that from happening and get some hits on it, and kind of fell off the game, especially considering everybody says kind of shortly after that it turns into a very hard platforming mess. But
well, okay, and I want to run this by you guys. Did either of you play Lost Winds on WiiWare back in the day?
No.
Okay, so I loved that game. I barely touched the sequel. I have them both on my original Wii. I downloaded them. I think they're on Steam now. But anyway, that third boss where it's like the golem with like the hands pounding and whatnot is an exact lift of the final boss of the first chapter of that WiiWare game for Lost Winds. And I have not done the research yet to determine if there's similar developers or publisher or whatever. But yeah, I was like, this feels strangely familiar.
Huh.
And then I finally put it together and I was like, oh yeah. Like it's this old WiiWare game that like I'm remembering, and it was a similar vein in that it was like a platformer. So I don't know, coincidence maybe. But thought it was interesting.
Huh, that's interesting, because that's definitely probably one of the better bosses that I saw in that game.
Yeah. Plus, I love how he's like, no, it's cool, man. We're fine. And then you leave and he's bawling in the basement or in the cavern there. So, yeah, pretty neat. I very much appreciate that game so far, but I will take Nate's advice and what I've heard from a few other people in that at the halfway point, you maybe just put it down unless you want a headache. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
That's what it is? It just turns into more of the, you have to hit something to get another jump type thing?
No, some of it, when you get towards the end, or at least what I remember of it, it's been a couple years or a year. And when you get towards the end, you feel like you defeat a final boss. And then it starts sending you on this, got to go back here. You got to go back here. And so you do a ton of backtracking. It's not necessarily that the platforming gets so brutal you don't want to play it anymore. I just didn't like the backtracking, and the game should have just been done. And that's, I was like,
especially
oh my
for
gosh,
a game that in its early hours so focuses on like propelling you forward, you know.
Right.
It seems like a counterintuitive design change.
Right. So I feel that I defeated the boss, but I'm still kind of confused on that, and I just don't have the energy to go on a Easter egg hunt for certain little things. I just don't have an interest in that.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully I can update you guys on my progress next time and see where I fell off.
Yeah. Just like your Ventures the Link,
which we shall not speak of.
I agree with you. You stop at the right point, keep it holy in your heart, and move on.
mean, I stand by my comments last time. I love what I love about that game.
You don't want anything to taint that.
I am a little afraid by your guys' opinions, and I don't want to fall into I want to be the staunch defender, even if that means not experiencing it all the way, which I want to. Right. I will defend that game. So
all right, we'll accept that.
Yep.
Okay. I appreciate that. With that, I guess successful episode 95, new mic.
You sound
failing
better
at a quiz. I
did not fail at a quiz. I just underperformed.
Okay.
I got a participation ribbon.
In 2021, Yes, you did get a participation ribbon. So challenge thrown. Dude, Lord and the Truth. Bring it. Let's do that. Let's do that follow-up episode.
Let's make it happen.
Hope you guys are listening. Geekade. Gauntlet throwing. Probably time to wrap it, right?
Absolutely. I think we need some of those. We need our friends out in the world, our listeners, to help us with this. Send us an email. Let us know. Is it Super Mario World or is it Donkey Kong Country? And we'll find our true friends from that, I guess. Actually, that was really strong. I'm really sorry about that. But you can send that email anyways to us at weekendrentalpodcast@gmail.com. Make sure you're following us on all of our social media, Twitter, Facebook. Do we have any other social medias? No, we don't have any other social medias. Those are the only ones that matter. YouTube as well. And you can find all things Weekend Rental at weekendpodcast.com. And as always, friends, be kind. Rewind.
Happy Martin Lawrence Day.
Shanae.
Was that my finger?